a day before we were going to go there to pay the fees, I told my father, no, this is not what I want to do. I think I want to do something else. Here, there is nobody to give you a KPI or a KRA. You set your
I
own
agree.
KRAs, you go chase them, and then you think, okay, have I done enough? Can I do more? If I were to give you a blank canvas and ask you to write your own job description, assuming whatever you write is available to you, what would you write? We were all almost like, black commandos. So there is a problem, you go attack that problem, focus on the problem, solve it, come back, get on to some other project. We can tell a client what to do, but if we
I agree.
help them do it, it will actually kind of help them soar their business to a different level altogether. Let's create an
Got it.
ecosystem so that the client sees that, okay, here is a team that can give me that program management support, can give me that think tank support, and can also give me the execution support. We actually started by looking around to say that who are the people who are ready to bet enough. One thing which we still do, while we've scaled quite a bit, but we still do is we meet people without any agenda, talk to them about what we are doing, get feedback. We always keep talking about this, that now it's not about sustenance. A lot of startups sometimes are in the phase where the whole question is about, will we sustain? I think we've crossed that stage.
We have Meenu Bhatia with us. Meenu is co-founder of WeMentor.ai and a PCC certified coach with 21 plus years of global experiences. She is an expert in leadership, cultural transformation, and building high performance teams. We mentor on the other side, help organizations and leaders achieve success through strategic HR solution and leadership development. Meenu, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Mihir. Good to be here.
Amazing, amazing. So, this is how we begin the conversation. Like, we'd love to know your early days, you as a student, right? I mean, your first career opportunity and any inspiration that you want to share with us that led you to start your own company later on.
Awesome. Oh, yeah, it's a good starting point for me to start talking about what shaped my choices for the career that I chose eventually. So, I was born and brought up on the outskirts of Mumbai, little far away from Mumbai. Call it a
Okay.
tier two town. At that point of time. So the options were quite limited. We had very little exposure to what's happening so while we were on the outskirts of Mumbai, but we were not like into Mumbai. So the options were limited, and I was always a good student in school, but I somewhere intuitively knew that math and science are not my good friends. So I figured out that my good friends are subjects where I get to think. And so I always thought math and science is more like a structure. There's a definition. You have to remember the definition and vomit it out in the examination. I always loved subjects which allowed me to think and write what I think, right? So I loved English. I loved languages, Marathi and Hindi. I loved subjects which around social sciences, and I knew that. But then, because I was a good student after 10th standard, the natural expectation was get into science, either become a
Fine.
doctor or become an engineer. So
Right.
that's the path I chose. And I realized again that no, this is not for me, but I still continued. I didn't do well in 12th. I barely managed to, cross 65%. I took admission in BSc because, I did get admission in one of the remote colleges in engineering. And just a day before we were going to go there to pay the fees, I told my father, no, this is not what I want to do. I think I want to do something else. And he said, okay, then, BSc is the only choice. Couple of days before I was going to pay the fees, my cousin's sister actually showed me something. And Mumbai University had come up with this new course called Bachelor's in Management Studies. Um, I didn't know anything about it. Again, intuition, gut feel. I thought I'll do well in these subjects. And I told my parents, this is where I want to go. Now, nobody knew about it. The social circle was all critical about this particular choice. But I think my parents supported, and that just meant everything to me at that point of time. And I got into it. Now, that gave me an opportunity to explore my passions, explore what I like. I really did well in those 3 years. I actually, in my first year, I was only 17. That was when I did my first internship with National
Wow.
Stock Exchange. Yeah. It was again, I had no work to do there. I just used to go and sit there, observe what people, because I didn't even know how to open an Excel sheet at that point of time. So, and I knew that they would not have any work for me, but I just used to go there every single day, sit there, observe, sometimes just used to help out with filing some papers, etc. But I think I understood a lot about what HR does. That was my first um, exposure to what HR does. And that was my big influence as well. And then, I was massively influenced by my HR professor. The way she carried herself, the way she spoke about what the function does. I think she was a big influence on me at that point of time. And I somewhere knew, I didn't know anything about HR, but I knew this is the career path. Just like you have role models and you just go after them.
Right.
I think she
Right.
was my role model. I think that kind of influenced my decision, and the internships which I did. And these were not the mandatory internships, but I still chose
Got it.
to do them because I realized this is something which is going to give me that push towards what I want to do. And that's
Absolutely.
been my biggest learning, Mihir, so far. And this is something which I
Amazing.
tell every student: please do as many internships as you can, because
Right.
that's how you'll get to know what you are meant to do in life.
Amazing. Amazing. I'll quickly tell you something that I could relate from your journey. So, I mean, in Sholek, I did a business analytics, and we were doing a lot of machine learning,
Yeah.
a lot of coding stuff, and I always felt that, oh, I mean, can I do coding? I was good with the logic, I was good with the maths and everything, good with the statistics, but I never had first-hand exposure in coding. So I was very skeptical, like, no, will I be able to do it? First internship I got into, and the best part that I liked was the coding. So I thought, oh,
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
the day, I mean, I spent like so many years without even touching the coding, and now I'm loving it. So the internship, again, everyone watching this, you can definitely relate here, I believe, because the internship gives you that sort of exposure and lets you know that know what you're good at. So amazing,
Absolutely.
amazing.
And what do you enjoy doing? I think your strengths
Right.
come out, and also, eventually you should, if you have to stay with, you don't have to stay with one chosen profession throughout your
Right.
life.
Right.
But in case you have to stay with it for 30 years, you should at least enjoy doing what you are doing. So,
I agree. I agree.
internships give you that opportunity to understand that, okay, what do you enjoy doing?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mean, just one question here. In
Sure.
hindsight, if you can think of any challenges that you had, like, no, I mean, moving from like full time, because you were full time
Yeah.
working, right,
Yeah.
for so many years, right? So, if you had any challenges making a transition from like a full time employee to running your own business now.
Okay, I think the biggest challenge was my own mindset. I was preparing for this transition for almost, I think, 2 years.
Okay.
So I was preparing for it because I knew at some point of time I want to go on my own and do something of my own. I didn't think about starting a company. Starting a company just happened because one of my colleagues also had quit the same company, and we both decided that, okay, let's do this together. So that's how the company was formed. But I knew that I'm going to be on my own. I was planning for it. What I didn't plan for is the whole mindset shift. So I was used to doing things in a certain way. Once you start your company, you are actually the CEO, which means right from making your own coffee
I agree.
to creating your first website to creating your own social media page, you have to
Right.
learn everything. Now, for me, that was initially it was overwhelming because I was like, Acha, okay, why should I do this? Right? Or
Right.
am I
Right.
supposed to do this? Or I think the biggest, anxiety used to be, am I doing enough? Yeah,
Right.
because in a corporate setting, you get your KRAs, right? You get your KPIs that this is what you're going to achieve. Here, there is nobody to give you a KPI or a KRA. You set your
I
own
agree.
KRAs, you go chase them, and then you think, okay, have I done enough? Can I do more? So I think one of my realizations was to kind of take a pause once in a while and just reflect on all the work that has happened and just, you know, pat myself on the back and say that, okay, you've done this. Now comes the next stage and, we'll do this as well. Yeah.
And something that I would like to bring up as well, like, I'm sure about the paycheck as well. I mean, by the time you were about to quit, I'm sure you were making like good, right? And once you take that leap of faith, that monthly check that used to come,
Yeah.
that stops, right? I mean, that's like something big challenge as well. Like now you believe that, oh, will I be able to cover up this, and how long will it take? So this is again,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
uh,
that's why I said, I was planning for it. Right. So I
right,
always tell people who talk to me about, one advice for us when we are getting onto an entrepreneurial journey. I always tell them plan for it. Don't just take a random decision that, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. It's not that easy. So when I say plan for it, figure out like, how are your finances looking like? Um, if your paycheck stops, will you be able to survive for next 6 7 months? Will you be
Mhm.
able to maintain your lifestyle? Because when you're working on an idea, it's important that everything else is like, you know, kept aside. So these worries shouldn't bother you when you're embarking on something new. And therefore, assuming nothing happens in first 6 7 months, and there is no money coming into your bank account, will you be able to survive? Will you be able?
Right.
Will you be okay in your mind to say that it's okay if money is not coming in? I'm working on this idea. After 6 7 months, I know it's going to come in. So I think that's something which is very very important from that shift perspective from
I'm
from
sure.
a
I'm
full
sure.
time role to an entrepreneur's role.
Right, right. I'm sure you have amazing journey building V Mentor, but I'll go a step back in your
Yes.
career, right? You because you worked, I mean, significant number of years in HR, right? So, I mean, not a lot of questions. I just have one question, right?
Sure.
I mean,
Go ahead.
what is your one favorite question that you used to ask to candidates before hiring them, before you making that no make or big decision?
Yeah, I think it partially ties back to the area which I said that what do you enjoy doing. So I still do ask this question that if I were to give you a blank canvas and ask you to write your own job description, assuming whatever you write is available to you, what would you write? Right. So I think that gives me a lot of insight into what do they enjoy doing. And for me that's very important. You should enjoy doing what you're doing, otherwise it doesn't make sense. So I get a
Right.
lot of insight into one, what are they passionate about, what do they enjoy doing, where do they see a spark in their lives, and what is it that they don't consider it as their strength, and
Hmm.
how much have they researched
Right.
about the organization to know that, okay, this is the kind of organization that can offer me the kind of role that I want. So
Amazing.
that's very important for me.
Just one follow up question on this. Did
Please.
you receive any interesting question answer to this question? I mean, that you could remember for a long, long time.
Yeah. So, in fact, there was this one student who we were hiring for HR, and she actually, I mean, that's quite a quite a contrary thing to happen. Typically, students don't like to do sales. This lady actually said that, what, I would love to do, if I were given an opportunity, I would love to do sales because I took HR since everybody told me HR is like the best career option for girls. So I took it. But now I feel these 2 years have kind of given me that hope that I can do better in sales. So,
Wow.
so I would love to do that. And we actually gave her that opportunity to do sales, and she really did well. She's still with that organization where I interviewed her, and she's doing
Wow.
amazingly well. I mean, that kind of gives you that clarity and the confidence also, right? To be able to select the student and put your bets on them.
Amazing, amazing. Right, great. No, I mean, I have a curious mind, so these questions sometimes pops
Please,
up.
please keep
So,
asking.
like coming back to your entrepreneurial journey, like you were in a corporate, you were making good money, right? So, just wanted to focus on the transition, like no, because you had an idea about starting in, let's say, consulting, coaching industries, right? So, I understand that this industry is really competitive, right? About the research that I made, I've understood that there are a lot of players out there in the market. So, what was your value proposition? I mean, like, what did you had extra in the market? So,
Okay.
if you can talk about that.
Okay. So, see, I mentioned, right, like two of us actually started this company in 2019. So
Mhm.
we actually sat down to say, what do we bring in on the table? You know, what are our strengths that we can offer to the clients that we want to work with?
Right.
Both of us had actually worked throughout our careers. We were almost like, you know, black commandos. So there is a problem, you go attack that problem, focus on the problem, solve it, come back, get on to some other project. And
Got it.
I think in my last organization, I worked for 7 years. I did 5 different roles, all
Wow.
because, you know, 8 years, yeah, 8 years and 5 roles. So I think we realize that's our strength. That's something which we bring in. We because we both were from we had worked enough number of years in organizations working with consultants. What we realized was that one crucial thing which used to be missing in those interactions was the whole capability to execute on the ground. You know,
Mhm.
just roll up your sleeves and start executing. You know, a consultant would always come in as a consultant. And we realized that, okay, there's a big need, because, you know, we can tell a client what to do, but if
I
we
agree.
help them do it, it will actually kind of help them soar their business to a different level altogether. So the work which we do today is not just into HR and leadership development, but also cuts across other areas of business, like, you know, sales, pipeline building, you know, sales efficiency, key account management, strategy, you know, strategy cascade, creating cultures, building organization culture. Now, all of these areas need a very strong execution capability, a very strong process framework, methodologies, you know, ways to measure the effectiveness. You know, a lot of people, a lot of consultants would come to us and tell us what to do, but is it effective, not effective? They would possibly not be there as well. So we said, okay, you know, here is a gap that we can bridge. We can
Right.
bring in, we can create those methodologies and structures and build ways for organizations to actually see that, you know, whatever we are doing with them, is it helping them grow? So and we were quite sure that, okay, you know, we want to build an organization. By then we were clear
Mhm.
that we want to build an organization. It's not just two people working with clients. Let's create an
Got it.
ecosystem so that the client sees that, okay, you know, here is a team that can give me that program management support, can give me you know, that think tank support, and can also give me the execution support. So
Got it. Got
that's how we created it, and, you know, we are building that niche for ourselves in the market.
Wow. Nice. Just a follow-up question on
Sure.
this. Like, what I've understood is, like, you have a team of like experts that goes on and execute for them. So, I mean, do you do the end-to-end execution for your client, or I mean, you train their internal team to do so?
So see, what we do is, we were very clear when we started that we are not going to be the brokers in this. You know, we take an assignment from here, we pass it on to somebody else and make margins for ourselves. We were clear
Oh,
that's not why we are here. So we are, you know, our team is a part of the whole process. We do have
got
experts. We have more than 350 experts who work with us. They bring in different capabilities, you know, experience, understanding of different aspects of the business. and they work with us on the projects depending on the challenges that we identify with the client. So these experts actually work with us. So what happen, or rather, we work with these experts closely. So if say somebody is doing a key account management process for a client, which will and the process will span across, like say, maybe about 12 months, there is a program manager who gets attached to this particular account. So the program
Got it.
manager's role is to make sure that those little parts that are a part of the project, they are stitched well. So program
Got it.
manager is almost like accountable to ensure the completion of the project, to report in the milestones, to understand or to collect information, or to sit with the customer to understand that, what is the next milestone that we should be looking at, what has been the progress like on the earlier milestone, where are we stuck, what can we do differently, what new solutions can emerge, and therefore how can we measure the effectiveness of the whole process as well. So there is a very deep attachment in the organization, which
Understood.
happens through our team. So one is the
Amazing.
expert team and one is the program management team.
Great. So you spend a significant time, as I said, that in being in human resource, right? So now coming down to your own startup, like how did you hire like first 5 team? Because I'm in the same state where I'll be start hiring people. So I really want to understand your mindset in this. Like, how did you go about in hiring that first candidate, second candidate? How was it the culture that you were looking for, or was it that no? I mean, skill was the priority, right, for the first 5 people? Like, how did you go about it?
So you know what? Interestingly, for us, we actually started by looking around to say that who are the people who are ready to bet in us, right? Because we're just
Wow.
starting off. So we said, who are the people who are ready to bet in us? Now we're fortunate enough to have very senior people who joined hands with us. Because they believed in what we were trying to create. They believed in the kind of traction we had gained by then. So the
Hmm.
little experiments that we did, we were fortunate enough to get a good feedback from the customer on those experiments. And there were, a few people who said that, okay, very senior people who kind of said that we would love to support. We would love to also be your think tank or your advisors. So that's how the first few set of people came in. The
Wow.
second set of people who also parallelly, in simultaneously came in, they were our students. So both of us
Okay.
used to teach. I mean, we still teach. So,
Okay.
these were our students. We knew that how these students have been in the class, and how have they picked up. What's the learning curve like. So we just got them on board and we started. So first five
Amazing.
people from that segment were our students, and it
Amazing.
was it,
Amazing.
it also gave them the comfort of working with us. They did give us the comfort of working with them as well.
I agree. I agree. So I mean, no. So it's more on like people that is betting on you, that is like believing in your idea, want to take that risk with
Yes,
you, right? And then they get a reward as well as the
absolutely.
company grow, and as the piece get bigger, right?
Yes.
Okay, great, awesome, understood. Right. So, I mean, you are running this, like, I mean, as you said, you have a co-founder as well. So, I mean, as you're running this for like 6 years now, because 2019, so it's 6 years now. So, I'm sure you must have scaled at a certain level, right? So, can you also share with us, like, how did scaling happen and how did you launch your different products into the market? So, if you can also talk about that.
Sure, sure. So I think the first, like when we really started, we said that okay, we've worked. I had worked in the industry for 16 years, and Srini, who's the founder, he worked in the industry for about 20 years by then. So we said, okay, let's first put together the list of people who we know, right? Our
Hmm.
friends, people, colleagues, past colleagues, and uh, people who we knew. So we just put down the list of all those people and we started talking to them initially. We didn't go and pitch business directly. We started talking to them about what is it that we can do, who are the people who are with us. These are the areas, which where we think we can add value. These are the problems we've solved in the past. So we created a lot of these use cases. Uh, I think the first set of business actually came to us through these well wishers,
People you knew.
people
Right.
who we
Wow.
knew, and well wishers. Few of my friends and our friends, they actually kind of said, okay, this is what is happening in my business. Can you come and solve this for us? So that's how it started. Then it became word of mouth. Like, we worked with
Wow.
somebody and somebody said, okay, why don't you meet this person? Then it became word of mouth. And then, actually, why this was word of mouth, we started using what we already have in terms of the work which we had done. And we started aggressively reaching out. So we started mapping, using different channels to map who are the people who are actually investing in the kind of work which we are already doing. Yeah. Can we go reach out to them? Because we know that, okay, they have the appetite to invest. So can we go out to them, talk to them, tell them what is it that we've done, talk to them about how our methodologies are different, uh, per se, in terms of the value that we add for the recipient of that service. I think those were some of the areas that we started focusing on. And what we realized, so while I was never a marketing or a sales person, I was always a HR person. I think that was one big shift which I had to do, like, start talking to people. And somebody, I was fortunate enough to also find a mentor at that point of time. Again, not like, formally designated mentor, but more like somebody who came, who I met at one point of time and who actually told me that you don't have to think yourself as a salesperson. Still think of yourself as a HR person who's talking about the value she can create. And that
I
shifted
agree.
my whole perspective. Then I did not think of myself as, oh, I have to go and sell something to somebody. Sales is scary for a lot of people, right? So
Right. Right.
now when I meet customers, I always think of what is the value that I can present to this client, and I only talk about that value. So it's not about me or that other person, it's about the value. And that takes away a lot of pressure, that sales
Amazing.
pressure. And I don't feel that, okay, I'm doing sales now. It just feels like another call, another networking opportunity where we're talking about the value that we are providing to somebody.
Amazing. Amazing. So you spoke about word of mouth, right? It's a dream for a lot of tech entrepreneurs like myself. I mean, we really want people to talk about our product. So I believe that what worked for you is, I mean, seeing that what value you can create for
Yes.
your clients, right?
Yes.
So the more value you created for them, I mean, that kind of help, they spoke about your value to other people, and that kind of brought a lot of business for you guys
One
as well.
more, one more point out there, since you brought this point up, and especially since you spoke about tech entrepreneurs, I think it's also important to get constant feedback from people. So one thing
Yes.
which we still do, while we've scaled quite a bit, but we still do, is we actually uh, meet people without any agenda, talk to them about what we are doing, get feedback that, okay, what do you think the world is doing? Do you think if we experiment with this, it will work? What you've seen the world, you've seen this space. Uh, do you think if we do this, it will kind of add value to the end user? What have you seen others doing which you would want to share with us? I think having these conversations without thinking about whether the business will come or not come, I think that's really valuable. Getting that feedback from people and customers without any agenda.
Understood. Understood. Amazing. Great. So you guys have scaled at a certain level now, right? So how does it look like for like 5 years from now onwards for Ventor? How you guys are planning for next 5 years?
I think, we always keep talking about this, that now it's not about sustenance. A lot of startups are sometimes are in the phase where the whole question is about, will we sustain or
Mm.
will we drop out of the game? I think we've crossed that stage. Now for
Nice.
us, the stage is equally, scary and exciting. Scary because we see a lot of potential outside, and now it's upon us to see how do we want to go out and grab that market share.
Wow.
Exciting because wherever we go we see an opportunity, and it's really upon us to see that how do we convert that opportunity, how do we work with, now we have enough case studies, how do we go out and aggressively pitch and talk about all the use cases and get more value for the initial set of people who believed in us when we started from ground zero. How do we continue to add value for them? I think that's the real focus in the next 5 years, that how do we build value in the business, how do we create a business which has the potential to build a legacy. We also do a lot of work with students in the employability space. So our focus is not employment but employability, and how do we build their capabilities so that they have good careers. So one of the uh, or rather the purpose behind this entire initiative is to at least see 5 lakh learners being impacted positively by 2026, which is next
Yes.
year. So,
Wow.
how do we get more students to be employable? How do we create more opportunities for them to add value to the organizations that they start working with? So I think that's what drives us, and that's clearly what we aim to do in the next 5 years. Build a
Amazing.
legacy.
Amazing. Right.
Yeah.
Great. Great. So you have a recurring revenue coming in. You have sustained a rate. You have a good team, right? So I just want to understand on empowering students side, right? Do you also have a model where you go out in colleges and teach those students?
Yes, so we do that. So our basically what we do as part of Yugma is the name of the companies that works with students. So we work with grad and engineering and MBA students,
Wow.
and we
Okay.
start working them since the time they start college. So the whole idea
Got
is,
it.
the curriculum, the college curriculum prepares them for, say, a role coming up in the
Mm.
campus, or it prepares them on the syllabus that is prescribed by the university. Since we work
Got it.
with corporates, we also kind of know what is it that they expect, what skill
Mm.
sets are needed by corporates. When a student joins the organization, what is expected out of the student, or what does it take for them to succeed in the first year of their career. So we work with students on those skill sets. So right from understanding of the business skills to understanding of the functional skills. So if I want to make a career in, say, FMCG marketing, do I understand what is FMCG first of all as a sector? What are the avenues available for me to add value? Do I understand the
Got
job descriptions that are shared with me in the campus? So one, preparing students and then allowing them an opportunity to make an informed choices about their careers. So that's the work which we do, and we work with close to 100 odd colleges across the country today.
Understood.
Uh,
Right.
yeah, and also because there's a corporate ecosystem available from the
That's
consulting
great.
side. We do get a lot of people from corporates who also come in and teach. So it kind of gives a lot of insight to the students to see that, okay, here is somebody who's a recruiter or who's from corporate who's actually talking about
Wow.
what is needed of me once I joined him. So that closes the loop for them in their mind. So I would believe in the
Yes.
effort and not be overly thinking about the outcome. I think it's important that wherever you are in that stage, it's important to connect with the right set of people, connect with some mentors, reach out to mentors, um, know your customer. I think at 21, nobody told me who's my customer in the first place. So, knowing the ecosystem of the customer, knowing who's the customer in the first place, I think these are the things I learned
Right.
when I started. So I wish I knew when I was 21 that I can still have a structured way of
Got it.
building my career, building, learning things. Uh, having that mindset, and of course, I no complaints at all. I think the
Right.
career has moved on really well so far, and no complaints. But I think, one, because I did not come from a Premier B school, there was always this little thing in my mind that, okay, I'm losing out. Whereas I don't think anybody who knows a path has a structure that, okay, I need to possibly, if others are reading 10
Mhm.
pages, I need to read 50 pages. I need to have mentors. I need to uh, put my hand up for all the assignments which nobody else wants to do, because that's what
Got it.
brings you out in the limelight. Nobody else is doing, you're doing it. But I think that ability to come out of that comfort zone and be able to kind of do things which nobody else is doing, um, if you're able to do that, then it doesn't matter beyond the point which college have you come from. It's all about what have you done in the first 5 years of your career, that rigor that you put into your
Right.
own career. And I think,
Right.
that's something which I would always advise my 21-year-old selves, that if you're putting in all the right things in place, do not worry about the outcome.
That you
Two,
received from
when
your
I
mentor
started my
that is
career,
helping you
one of
till the date.
the person with whom I was working, I always took problems. And he would always tell me that you have to come to me with solutions as well. I would go to him with. Then I started going to him with on half baked
Amazing.
solutions, and he was okay with it. He was like, "Come to me with half baked solution, and we'll bake it together." I think the mindset he was trying to create within me was to look for solutions, and not just be focused overly on the problems. He was there to support, but he wanted me to start thinking on my own. I think that was one advice which has stayed with me, which I always also pass on to my team. I think the second advice which I received when I was starting my entrepreneurial journey, one of our advisors and our early believers
Great.
actually told me that you need to have empathy for the customer. That was something which I was empathetic, but I did not think of it from that
Hmm.
perspective, that what could the empathy for the customer mean, right? So even today, before I meet somebody, a lot of times I am just in the listening mode, because I've realized a lot of problems actually come out when you're just listening to the other person, and that's when you know what solution to pitch. So, so having that deep empathy for the customer and their needs is something which came to
Right.
me as an advice when I was starting off.